The axe hits the back of your skull instead of your neck, and the first thing you feel is not pain. It is pressure, deep and structural and total. The kind of force that arrives inside the bone before the brain has had time to classify it. A vibration moving through your skull, the way a struck bell moves, outward from the point of impact, in every direction simultaneously, looking for somewhere to go, finding your jaw and your eye sockets and your teeth and the soft tissue behind your ears, and arriving in all of those places at once with a thoroughness that feels almost methodical, almost considered, as though your nervous system is conducting a survey and wants to make sure it hasn't missed anything. Your jaw locks. Your fingers press into the wood without your permission, curling hard against the grain. The body making its own decisions now. The body having opinions about what it needs to hold on to. Your eyes stay open. You did not choose this either. Somewhere in the part of your mind that is still operational, the part that has spent 44 years practicing a quality of detachment that other people call composure, and you know is simply the only available response to a life that has required a great deal of enduring, you are noting with clinical precision that this is going to take longer than you were promised, and that your body is going to experience all of it, and that there is nothing you can do about either of those facts except remain present for them, which is the one thing you have never had any difficulty doing. It takes 3 strikes. This is the story of what your body experiences between the first one and the last. Minute by minute, system by system, the specific and unreported physical reality of what it costs a body to be ended badly and slowly and in front of people who came expecting something cleaner. Stay. Minute 10. Before the first strike, your neck is the most alive it has ever been, which is the particular cruelty of the minutes immediately before damage. The body sharpening its attention on the thing that is about to be compromised. The skin there becoming acutely sensitive to the cold air. The fine hairs standing. Every nerve ending on the back of your neck suddenly and uselessly awake and reporting with extraordinary precision the temperature of the room, the subtle movement of air, the specific quality of the draft moving across the exposed skin between your hairline and the white linen of your collar. Your pulse is moving through that skin with an insistence you find almost offensive given the circumstances, a rhythmic and entirely involuntary announcement of your own continued existence, the body unable to stop performing the function of being alive, even at the exact moment that being alive is the inconvenient condition. Your knees are already communicating their objections through the red wool, the cold of the wooden block conducting efficiently through fabric and skin, and into the joints that have been aching in cold weather for a decade, the damp of 19 years of imprisonment having settled so thoroughly into the cartilage that it has become structural, become part of what you are made of now, the body keeping its own record of every drafty room and insufficient fire and stone wall that held no warmth. Your palms are flat against the block, and you can feel every detail of the grain beneath them, every raised fiber, every small imperfection in the wood, and you press harder because this is the last thing within your control. The quality of the contact, the steadiness of the surface you are providing, the refusal to flinch, and you lower your chin into the curved groove that fits with the horrible precision of a thing built for exactly this purpose. And you hold still, and the axe rises. Minute 9. The impact travels through your skull with the physics of catastrophe. Not a sharp thing, not a cutting thing, but a blunt and massive reorganization of the bone's understanding of itself. A force so large that your nervous system cannot locate it at a single point, and instead experiences it everywhere, simultaneously, the vibration conducting through the occipital bone and into the temporal bones, and through the base of your skull, and down into your cervical spine, and into your jaw, your teeth registering the impact as a deep full-body clench, your molars pressing together with a force you cannot release because the muscles have made this decision independently and are not accepting input. Your vision goes white. Not dark. White, which is not what you expected. And the whiteness is not peaceful or merciful, but simply the visual manifestation of a system receiving more input than it was designed to handle. The optic nerves swamped, the signal overwhelming the processing, the image washing out the way a photograph washes out in too much light. Then the white develops edges. Then the edges develop shapes. Then you can see again, imperfectly, the wood in front of your face arriving in fragments, the grain resolving and dissolving and resolving again, your visual system attempting to reinstate normal operations with equipment that has just been significantly rearranged. The back of your skull is producing a sensation that exists below the threshold of what the word pain can accurately describe. It is not sharp. It is not burning. It is not the pain of a cut or a bruise or anything your body has experienced before. It is structural wrongness, the feeling of architecture compromised, of something load-bearing having been asked to do something it was not built to survive. You do not cry out. This surprises you more than the impact does. Minute 8. Your hearing changes, and this is the first thing to go. Not disappears, but distorts. The frequency shifting, the high end pulling away first, and then the mid-range following. The sounds around you arriving increasingly as though transmitted through water or stone or some medium denser than air, arriving late and softened and slightly wrong, as though the world has moved several rooms further away while your body remains stationary. Your neck muscles are in full seizure now, not from the strike, but from the body's response to it. Every muscle along your cervical spine contracting simultaneously in a bracing reflex that is approximately 10 seconds too late and will accomplish nothing except to ensure that your neck hurts in two distinct and competing ways at once. The deep structural percussion of the impact still radiating outward through your skull, and the sharp surface agony of muscles contracting so hard they are beginning to tear their own fibers, your body defending against a threat that has already arrived, the protective instinct. A fraction of a second behind the damage it was designed to prevent. Your fingers can feel the wood, but they are feeling it differently now. The sensation arriving with a slight delay, as though the signal has to travel further to reach the part of your brain that processes it, as though the route has been altered, rerouted around something that is no longer clear. There is a taste in your mouth. Metal, specific, the iron of blood from somewhere you cannot locate, and alongside it something deeper and more interior, something that tastes the way the inside of your skull smells when you have a fever, a biological smell, a cellular smell, the smell of your own tissue conducting damage. If you want to know exactly what the body does when it is ended badly, subscribe now, because we are not done, and it gets significantly worse before it stops. Minute 7. The second strike arrives, and your body knows it is coming approximately half a second before it lands. The nervous system conducting its own calculation of trajectory and velocity, and producing a warning that does nothing except ensure you experience the anticipation of the impact on top of the impact itself, a preview of pain arriving just ahead of the pain. The body's notification system functioning perfectly in a situation where perfect functioning is simply a more efficient delivery of horror. The second strike is closer to correct than the first, but it is not clean, and what it does to your skull is different from what the first one did. Where the first was a bell struck from outside, this is more internal, more intimate, the force finding the existing fracture lines that the first impact produced and traveling along them, the way water travels along cracks, seeking the path of least resistance, spreading. Your jaw has stopped hurting. This is not improvement. This is your nervous system making resource allocation decisions, withdrawing investment from the peripheral reporting infrastructure to redirect whatever remains toward the central and essential systems. The body practicing a form of triage that has nothing to do with your preferences and everything to do with biological priority, and the jaw, which is peripheral, which is superficial by comparison to what is happening deeper in, is simply no longer worth the cost of reporting. Your vision fractures, not like glass breaking, which is a clean event with clean edges, but like a signal losing coherence, the image stuttering, the visual field developing regions of static, patches where the information is simply not arriving, gaps in what you can see that your brain is attempting to fill in with. Interpolation and failing, the world becoming approximate, becoming estimated, becoming a best guess reconstruction of itself rather than the thing itself. You are still here. This is the part that costs the most. Not the pain, which is extraordinary, but the continued presence of the self inside it, the consciousness persisting past every threshold at which you would have preferred it to stop, the part of you that notices and records and refuses to stop noticing and recording, still operational, still awake, still registering the temperature of the air and the texture of the wood and the taste of blood and the particular interior sound of your own skull sustaining. Damage it was not built to sustain. Minute 6. Your spine begins its own process of dissolution from the top down, the cervical vertebrae losing their certainty about their relationship to each other. The tension that has held your neck upright and braced an intentional beginning to release, not as relief, but as structural failure. And what this feels like from the inside is a slow interior unwinding, a loosening of something that has been held very tightly for a very long time, the kind of release that would feel like letting go if it were voluntary and feels like collapse, because it is not. The sensation in your hands has become unreliable. You believe you can still feel the wood, but you cannot verify this. The feedback from your fingers arriving with enough delay and enough distortion that you cannot be certain whether you are feeling the grain of the block or remembering the feeling of the grain of the block, whether sensation and the memory of sensation have become, at this level of neurological disruption, functionally identical. Your body temperature is changing, not dropping, reorganizing, the warmth retreating from the extremities inward, pulling back from your fingers and your toes and the surface of your skin and concentrating itself deeper, your body enacting the same principle it uses in extreme cold, protecting the core, abandoning the periphery, deciding that your fingers are an acceptable loss if it means maintaining function somewhere more essential for a few minutes longer. The cold comes in where the warmth was. Your hands feel it first, then your forearms, then the exposed skin of your neck, the air reaching places that were insulated a moment ago, the cold finding the boundary of where your body has withdrawn to and pressing against it. Beneath your skirts, the dog is still pressed against your ankle. Warm, specific, unmistakable. And this sensation alone is arriving cleanly. This one point of contact, conducting its information without distortion. The small animal warmth of him, the most precise thing your body is still capable of feeling. Minute 5. Consciousness does not leave cleanly. This is what no one explains, what the body keeps to itself until it has no choice but to demonstrate it. It degrades. It becomes approximate. It develops the quality of a transmission losing signal. The thoughts arriving with gaps in them, incomplete. The sentences beginning and finding that the end of themselves is no longer available. The attention still present but present differently, as though you are experiencing your own mind from a slight remove observing it the way you might observe a fire that is burning lower, still warm, still illuminating, but consuming itself faster than it is being fed. Your heartbeat has become the loudest thing in your body. Not faster, louder, each beat arriving with a percussion that you feel in your damaged skull as a distinct and separate event, the pressure wave of each contraction traveling up through your spine and into the base of your skull, and finding all the places where the architecture has been compromised and registering there as a dull, insistent knock, your own heart becoming a source of pain, the most fundamental and involuntary function of your body, now working against you, doing what it has always done and causing damage because the infrastructure around it is no longer sound enough to absorb it without consequence. The taste of blood has intensified and changed, moving from metallic to something more organic, more interior, a taste that does not come from your mouth, but from somewhere deeper, the blood itself altered by whatever is happening in the tissue it is coming from, the taste of cellular damage, of broken capillaries, of your own body's interior released into itself. Your lungs are working. This surprises you. Some part of you expected everything to stop at once, and instead you are discovering that the body has a sequence, a hierarchy of cessation, and the lungs are apparently not yet at the top of it, still pulling air in and pushing it out with the blind persistence of a system that has not yet received the memo. Minute 4. The deeper systems are beginning their own reckonings now, the body moving through its shutdown sequence with the same thoroughness and indifference to your preferences with which it has conducted all its other processes, and what you feel is not each system going dark individually, but a progressive narrowing of the territory your body still considers worth maintaining. The livable space contracting inward, the perimeter pulling back, what is still yours becoming less by increments too small to mark and too large to ignore. Your vision has narrowed to a central field, the periphery gone entirely now. Not dark at the edges, but simply absent, not there in a way that is different from darkness. And within that narrowed field the world is arriving in pulses synchronized to your heartbeat, brightening and dimming with each contraction, the visual world made rhythmic, made cardiac, your heart rate visible to you as a stroboscopic effect in your own remaining sight. There is a sensation in the tissue of your neck and skull that does not have a name in any language you speak. Not burning, not tearing, not aching, but a deep, wet heat, the heat of internal bleeding, of tissue doing things tissue does not ordinarily do, of your body's cellular machinery attempting repair operations on damage that exceeds its repair capacity and generating heat as a byproduct of the attempt, the way any overloaded system generates heat, working harder and harder at a task it is not going to complete. The red wool is still against your skin. You can still feel it. This specific texture, this specific roughness, chosen by you, worn against your skin all morning, the last decision that was entirely yours. It is arriving clearly still, more clearly than almost anything else. The body in its narrowing attending to this one remaining signal with a fidelity that feels almost like intention, almost like choosing, almost like the last and most accurate form of holding on. Minute 3. Your body is conducting itself now largely without your participation, and the strange thing, the thing you did not expect, is that this is not frightening. The fear requires a quality of forward-looking attention, a capacity to project the self into a future, and find it unacceptable, and that capacity is one of the first things the degrading mind releases. So what remains is not fear, but a kind of stripped and clarified presence, an awareness without anticipation, sensation without the interpretation of sensation, the pure receiving of what is happening without the layer of response that would ordinarily make it intolerable. Your lips are moving. You are not directing this. The muscles of your mouth are conducting their own last transmission, shaping words or the memory of words or the motor pattern of words through pure habit, the body's deeply grooved neurology continuing to perform a familiar action, because that is what deeply grooved neurology does. It performs, it continues, it does not know how to receive the instruction to stop. Your heart is doing something irregular now, not stopping, not failing entirely, but losing the rhythm it has maintained without interruption since before you were born. The beats arriving unevenly, some too close together, some with a gap. The system that has been most reliable for 44 years, beginning to conduct itself with the inconsistency of equipment that is no longer receiving the signals it needs to regulate itself. The pacemaker of your heart, receiving corrupted input and producing corrupted output, and your chest registering each arrhythmic beat as a distinct physical event, a stumble, a miss, a syncopation in the most fundamental rhythm of your body. Minute 2. The third strike comes, and it is sufficient, which is the word your mind produces for it. Not merciful, not clean, not final, in any way that contains relief, but sufficient. Adequate to the task in the way that something can be adequate, after 2 previous inadequacies have established how much adequacy actually requires. The force of it traveling through the already compromised tissue and bone with the efficiency of force traveling through a system that has no remaining resistance to offer it. The architecture having been so thoroughly disrupted by the first 2 strikes that the third encounters no structure worth the name, moves through what remains of your neck with the blunt completeness of the door, finally closing after being held open for too long. Your body stops. Not falls, not collapses, not ends. Stops, the way a mechanism stops when the animating force is no longer available to animate it. All the biological insistence and cellular stubbornness, and the 44 years of accumulated physical history, ceasing at once without diminuendo, without fade, without the gradual winding down you might have expected, simply not continuing, simply the last moment in which these particular arrangements of matter were a person, and then the moment after, in which they are not. Your lips are still moving. The body has things it wants to finish. The body does not stop on command. Minute 1. What remains conducts itself with the same involuntary thoroughness that characterized everything that came before it. The lungs attempting one more breath that finds no clear path. The heart completing 2 more beats after the signal to complete them has already been interrupted. The muscles of your face finishing the motion they were in the middle of. The cellular machinery running for another fraction of a second on the energy already in the system before that too is spent, and then the progressive and unstoppable quiet of things no longer being maintained. The temperature beginning its long, slow return to the temperature of the room. The warmth that was yours dispersing outward into the cold air of the hall, the way warmth always disperses, the body rejoining the physics it has been held apart from for 44 years by the improbable and temporary fact of being alive. The dog comes out from beneath your skirts. He was there the entire time. Through the first strike, through the second, through the third, pressed against your ankle, feeling through your body everything your body felt, the vibrations of each impact traveling down through your frame and into the boards and into him, the only witness who had no distance from it. No. Remove. No choice about how close to be. He walks to where your body has fallen and lies down in the space between your head and your shoulders, filling the gap, pressing his warmth against what is no longer warm, and he will not move, and they will carry him away, and for days afterward his body will refuse the food it is offered, conducting a grief in the only language available to it, the language of the body, the language of appetite, withdrawn and presence maintained and refusal. the language you have been speaking for 19 years, and that he learned from you and is now speaking back. When Bull lifts your head, your auburn wig comes away in his hand, leaving your real hair. Short and grey, the hair that grew in the absence of light and open air for 19 years. The hair that is the most accurate record of what was done to you, more accurate than any document, more accurate than any testimony, the grey of it making you real to the room in a way that nothing else has, making you a person rather than a problem that has been solved. Your lips are still moving. They will argue about this for centuries. Reflex, prayer, the body's last insistence on itself, and the argument will outlast everyone who witnessed it and everyone who wrote about it and arrive, still unresolved, in a world you cannot imagine, because that is what your body's final motion earns you, a question that will not close. It took 3 strikes. 3 strikes, a French-trained executioner, 2 crowns, and 19 years of careful management, and your lips were still moving at the end of it. That is not a woman who was erased. That is a woman who made them work for every inch, and whose body refused, even after everything, to finish on their schedule. If this is the kind of history you want, told from inside the body, from inside the moment it breaks. Subscribe now, and tell us in the comments whose body we go into next.